So the embattled CEO of the Health Professions Council of South Africa has been suspended yet again. Dr. David Motau was appointed earlier this year, and he says he's challenging his second suspension. So 2 weeks ago, his earlier suspension was rescinded. A week later, by the Health Minister, that's Dr. Joe Phaahla. The lawyer for Dr. Motau, that's Neville Gawula, joins us now via our video link for more on this. Bob Gawula, thanks very much indeed for your time. It's great to have you on the program. Perhaps let's start with some background. It's interesting to note the statement from the HPCSA. They say this suspension is to try and maintain the integrity of the organization itself. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely not. Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to your viewers. Absolutely not. There is no basis for the suspension as a point of departure. And from the outset, our client has been very clear to say, listen, at the time that he was at the helm of the Free State Department of Health, the investigation was ongoing. He was aware of it, but nothing at that stage pointed to his involvement or he was a subject of such investigation. And he made it clear when he reported the same after we did the criminal matter in the Free State. And again, he reiterated his position that when we were asked to make legal representations on the 16th to the minister on reasons why we should not be suspended, he was again very clear that there was nothing that implicated him during the investigation. So I'm not sure at what point, what's the legal basis for the Health Professions Council to say they're protecting or they're maintaining its reputation.
Interesting you say that, because Dr. Motau, my understanding is that he was arrested, he appeared in court, and that's for being in contravention of the PFMA.
That's correct. Section 86, amongst the 23 accused persons, he was the only one, as accused number one, charged with contravention of Section 86 of the PFMA. Section 86 of PFMA obviously speaks about his role as an accounting officer, that there are processes, financial processes, procedures that he ought to have guarded against in terms of saving or avoiding loss of money that belongs to the state. The rest, accused number 2 to accused number 23, were all charged with fraud, corruption, and so on and so on and so on. So now you would know the principle of legality, that you remain innocent until the contrary has been established. Now, we have made it clear that we are going to engage with the prosecution to tell them or to show them that there is no prospects of success in terms of prosecuting Dr. Motau.
Well, I mean, I guess the nub of the question is, did he guard against those processes that would have ultimately led to the loss of money for the state? I understand the investigations perhaps took place before he arrived as the head of department in the Free State, for health at least. But he's also conceded that at some stage he learned what was taking place, and the question then becomes, what did he do with that knowledge?
Thank you, and it's a very pertinent question, which involves around the basis upon which he was suspended. Correctly, as you pointed out, he joined the department in 2013. By the time he got there, apparently these misconduct, these corruption started in 2011. Now, there was a AG process in terms of the auditing, which came around 2015. It was only then that these irregularities was brought to his attention. Then what he did, he then immediately assembled a team, informed the office of the AG, provincial treasury, the police, state law advisors. There was a team, there was a stakeholder team put together in terms of understanding what is the problem, how to deal with the problem. There were a lot of meetings, there were a lot of engagements with the Hawks, with the state law advisors, provincial treasury, and again the office of the AG, wherein he communicated to them that, listen, this is the problem, this is serious, and we need to deal with it. Now, there's been a number, during that time again, there was a number of engagements where between the police and the office of Dr. Motau, whereby certain documents were requested, certain officials were identified, as we have set out in our papers, and at that stage, nothing pointed towards him. And all these officials were interviewed by the police and so on. So what more could he have done under those circumstances? He reported the matter to the police. The police were involved. The investigation was ongoing. He was regularly briefed with progress regarding the investigation.
Right.
What more could he have done under those circumstances, Ayanda?
That said, what charges is he facing in court? Because I understand that he appeared at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court and is actually currently out on 5,000 rand bail.
That's correct. He, as accused number one, is facing contravention of Section 86(1) of the BFMA. That's the only charge he's facing. Nothing regarding fraud, nothing regarding theft, nothing regarding corruption or money laundering.
Right. I imagine this suspension will last as long as this case lasts in some respects. At least he's being implicated in it. Is that time that you and your client have?
Look, we've got instructions to challenge the resuspension because the reasons advanced by the minister in the letter of suspension, there's no legal basis for that. For example, the crux of his suspension refers to him not informing the ministry or the council that he was being investigated with regard to what has happened in his previous portfolio as head of department. And as I've pointed it out, we have pointed out in our written submission as to reason why we should not be suspended, that there was nothing that pointed to us being suspects in that regard. However, we were part of the investigation. We assisted the police and everybody else, but nothing pointed to us until he got a telephone call on the 31st of July, 2021, that a warrant of arrest was being issued against him. That was the only and the first time that he became aware that the investigation, he was implicated in that investigation.
And what did he do with that?
At which point could he have informed council during his appointment as the registrar or CEO of the Health Professional Council? There was no basis. There was no point because he was not implicated. The investigation was not about him.
So at the point of being appointed, perhaps, yes, he might have thought that there's nothing that necessarily taints his name. But eventually, as you have mentioned, he did find out that he was among the people who were implicated. What did he do with that knowledge?
As I said, Ayanda, it was only on the 31st of July, 2021, that he got to know by way of being informed that a warrant of arrest was issued. By that time, immediately, he phoned the president of the council to inform him that he got a call from the police. It was a Friday. He's going to present himself over to the police in the Free State. The bail processes took place correctly. He was out on bail on 5,000. On his return, he caused a letter to be sent to the president of the council, to the director general of the department, and to the minister, and appraising them of what has transpired in court.
Right. So the sense I'm getting from the HPCSA is that even if Dr. Motau were to be innocent, he's fighting the court battle whilst staying in position could have an impact on a profession, let's be frank, that needs to, in many respects, be seen as being beyond reproach, especially in the times that we're living in. I mean, what's your response to at least that perception, that sort out this court case, despite the fact that you feel innocent, and once you've done that successfully, you can have your job back?
And for every decision that has been made by either the minister or the president of the Health Professionals Council, there must be a legal basis thereof. Now, there is nothing that he has done at the Health Professional Council that warrants him to be suspended. That's one. Two, to what extent does what has happened or what is happening or unfolding in his criminal matter in the Free State affects or impacts on his role as a registrar of the Health Professional Council? It
might not affect what he needs to do operationally, if I can come in, but it certainly has an impact on how people perceive him and, by extension, the organization itself.
We would not do what we're supposed to do if we're going to rely on people's perceptions. People's perceptions, the only way to test the veracity and the truth of those perceptions or the reality thereof is through a court process. That is why we're going to court on an urgent basis to test and to challenge the decision.
I mean, are you suggesting, Gawula, that the image of the HPCSA has absolutely no bearing in this entire discussion, especially considering the role that they do? I mean, this organization, for one, is meant to hold other health professionals accountable if they face accusations of gross misconduct. You don't reckon that questions around the CEO who leads an organization like that might not ultimately affect the work that they have to do?
Obviously, they will, because of the position that he holds as a registered CEO. Obviously, the profession is concerned and has been concerned, and that is why NEHAW and other institutions, SAMA, they wrote to the minister regarding this matter and draw certain aspects of facts to the minister's attention. But the reality, the fact of the matter is where we stand, and that is why Dr. Motau's rights can only be vindicated by a court of law, rather than laboring under certain perceptions, what could be, what could not be. So there are concerns, correctly so, precisely because of the position that he holds.
All right, Neville Gawula, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it. We'll watch the story and see how it unfolds. For now, let's fold it there. Neville Gawula is the attorney, the lawyer, if you like, representing Dr. David Motau, who is, of course, the now suspended CEO and registrar of the HPCSA. We'll keep watching that story for you as it continues to develop.